From the CISO Series, it's cybersecurity headlines.
Salt Typhoon intrigue continues. Texas takes on Allstate linked data broker, and goodbye to the paranoids as Yahoo cybersecurity layoffs hit in. These are some of the stories that my colleagues and I have selected from this past week's cybersecurity headlines. And now we are ready for some insight, opinion, and expertise from our returning guest after an extended layoff here, Jimmy Sanders, president of ISSA International. Jimmy, I'm so excited for today's news. Thank you for coming back. I got to ask, how was your week in cybersecurity?
My week has been amazing. I went to a lot of holiday parties, and I just wish everybody else a great holiday.
Yeah, same wishes from all of us here at the CISO series, and hopefully, I don't know how much good news and good cheer we have to share from our headlines today, but we're going to try to we'll spin some gold from this bad news straw. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to get into the news. Before we do so, I have to thank our sponsor for today, ThreatLocker, Zero Trust Endpoint Protection Platform. Remember, you can join us on YouTube Live. Go to CISOseries.com, hit the events drop down, and look for the Cybersecurity Headlines Week in Review image. You can join the fine folks like Kevin Farrell, the big boss man, David Spark, CCL, Maravel, Alicia Gamlin is joining us on LinkedIn. I love seeing all the names. Maravel is always at a lot of our Super Cyber Friday events, so thrilled to see some familiar names there and some new ones as well. So be sure to join us. We want your contributions in the chat, help make the show better. We hope you can join us. Just a quick remember that these are all Jimmy's opinions and not necessarily those of ISSA International. We've got about 20 minutes, though. So, Jimmy, I want some of those opinions. First up here, the intrigue behind Salt Typhoon telco penetration continues. We've got a couple of different stories here. This past week, T-Mobile CSO Jeff Simons stated that the massive Salt Typhoon cyber espionage campaign used a novel technique, quote, not something that I've seen in my 15 plus year career in cybersecurity. It's not something that is well published or read about. There's no CVE for it. That sounds troubling. He was referring to the way that cyber spies hop between the organization's network. Adding to the intrigue is a statement from Jeff Green, CISA's executive assistant director for cybersecurity, who said, "We cannot say with certainty that the adversary has been evicted because we don't know the scope of what they're doing." Insert gulp here. The White House cyber and emerging tech lead Ann Neuberger, speaking at a conference, said the Chinese cyber spies recorded very senior U.S. political figures, as well as stealing private communications. So, Jimmy, this has become one of those unfolding nightmares for telcos and, by extension, all of us and national security. How are we supposed to? What are we supposed to make out of all this news? It seems like we're just going to be getting more of this as the weeks go on.
I mean, it's making the news, but I'm a little shocked that a CSO would say, "Oh, it's not something I've seen before." Obviously, if it was something you've seen before, you would have stopped it and caught it. Like, that's the whole nature of an attack. I mean, come on now. But, to their credit, obviously this was a targeted attack. But as a security leader, as we're doing this, we are supposed to be looking for the things that don't have CVEs. We have to own that. Like, we can't have one silver bullet that breaks through because it didn't have a CVE and all of a sudden everybody's owned.
Yeah, he was just kind of describing a 0 day. And like, I get that there are novel techniques that, you didn't realize something could be a vector and now you realize it could be a vector or something like that. But yeah, that's like kind of what you're in the hot seat for, right?
And to me, like, you're a telco, you own the network. If you don't understand how your own network works and how people can hop around your own network, then I got bigger issues.
I have to wonder how, like, what is the fallout from this, I guess, beyond. I know that's a bigger question, but this just seems so like a total own by Salt Typhoon here, right? That we can't even say for certain that we've kicked them out of the network yet.
Yes,
Like
but
that level.
But why is that even surprising that China's doing that or has done that? Or to me, this wouldn't be the first or the last time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the fact that we're surprised that it happened or surprised that they're still in, when did they ever leave?
I guess we'll have to echo CISA's recommendation. Use all the end-to-end encryption you can find. And yeah, senior U.S. officials also maybe don't just be like dialing up on the phone. Also, that may be a takeaway we can also have. Next up here, Black Basta evolves strategy. The Black Basta ransomware group has shifted tactics using social engineering methods like email bombing, impersonating IT staff, and distributing malicious payloads such as Zbot and Darkgate to gain initial access. Once victims install remote access tools like AnyDesk or TeamViewer, attackers deploy malware to harvest credentials, steal VPN configurations, and bypass MFA protections, facilitating deeper infiltration. The shift showcases the ransomware groups are moving from purely botnet reliant approaches to a hybrid model that integrates social engineering. So, Jimmy, in a way, not too surprising here, bad actors have to move with the times. I'm curious, though, what goes through your mind when you see this constant evolution?
To me, their old tactics stopped working, so they had to, increase costs to do new attacks. To do all the things that you just described means they have to actually spend more money. And so it's not that the old attacks suddenly became more effective. It means they became least effective, or they wouldn't have switched up to new attacks. So to me, we're doing a good job in security in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Is there? I guess. So then, what do we take when I see a story like this? I guess, is this a yes? These actors are always evolving. We should just take that as a given, and unless we you see what I'm saying here? Like
No, you never take it for a given that it's evolving, but the attacks that worked yesterday won't work today. And hopefully, as we build our security network, the attacks that worked on us yesterday also don't work today. So as we evolve, as we build up our toolkit, as we do better security, they're going to hopefully ramp up their attacks, or they're going to go to the lower hanging fruit.
All right. Well, so an interesting story here to kind of finish off the top half of the show. Texas adds Allstate linked data broker to list of alleged privacy law violators. The Attorney General of Texas has accused the data broker Arity of sharing consumers' information without clear notice or consent. In the past 6 weeks, 6 of the mobile apps that Arity say are partners have been accused by the state of improperly sharing user data with third parties. Arity is owned by the insurer Allstate. Its official description says it sells recommendations to insurers for how to price individual customer plans based on their driving behaviors. It gathers data through a software development kit embedded inside mobile apps belonging to its partners. Seems a little messy here, Jimmy. On the one hand, customized data from data brokers there's the possibility of that making insurance maybe more fair. But here we have classic third-party vendor syndrome. I guess what should Allstate do here?
Maybe they should donate to Elon Musk, because that'll be the silver bullet to get out of Texas lawsuits. But in truth, though, the fact that they did it without informing is consent in all the cases. So for me, regardless if they sold the data or not, the fact that they did it without informing the users is the issue. So I agree that something should happen. I'm not in agreement that government should be going out to private companies for doing business.
It's one of those things that if they had buried this in a terms of service, right? Like that seems exactly. Like that's the solution here, right? Is burying the thing that no one will read and people will accept.
Yeah, but
I've seen an app.
I've seen Texas
that's laziness to me.
Yeah, but I've seen Texas go after companies that had terms of service.
Okay.
That you're not advertising with X anymore, we're going to sue you. So for Texas, at least, and I am from Texas, so I can say that from Texas, at least, they're attacking people who aren't like them.
Mm-hmm.
But from an Allstate standpoint, yes, I would agree that I would settle this, because the longer it gets out, especially if it was true that you had this SDK and you were selling this data, that almost goes back to the GM OnStar issue, where they were selling people's driver's records and they were charging you more money based on your driving history on the OnStar car and things like that. So I agree.
It would be interesting if a side effect of political petty access to political power by Elon Musk somehow gets better privacy practices. like the most bizarre chain of events of was like, I would never wish for this silver lining in this dark cloud, but that's a very weird outcome for
I call it unintended consequences.
It's
like it's like when you soundproof your walls in your house, all of a sudden your house gets warmer and better insulated.
Yeah, Elon Musk is the sound insulation of tech privacy policy. All right, we've solved it. Okay, but
Yeah.
I'm glad we're in a better place now. All right, before we move on to our next story here, a new word from our sponsor for today, ThreatLocker. Do zero-day exploits and supply chain attacks keep you up at night? Worry no more. You can harden your security with ThreatLocker. ThreatLocker helps you take a proactive, default deny approach to cybersecurity and provides a full audit of every action, allowed or blocked, for risk management and compliance. Onboarding and operations are fully supported by their US based support team. To learn more about how ThreatLocker can help keep your organization running efficiently and protected from ransomware, visit threatlocker.com. That's THREATLOCKER.com. All right, next up here, Microsoft MFA bypassed in Authquake POC. Researchers at ISSA Security have presented details of an attack technique that could have given threat actors access to Outlook emails, OneDrive files, Teams chats, and Azure cloud instances. Needing only an hour to execute, it required no user interaction, and it would not trigger any notification to the victim. The attack is based on exploitation of the Authenticator app process, in which a user obtains a 6-digit MFA code on their app. The researchers saw that one session supports up to 10 failed attempts to prevent brute force attacks, so, cuts you off so you can't do 1,000 of them. But then they saw that an attacker could execute multiple attempts simultaneously, enabling them to go through possible combinations relatively quickly. Oasis named this attack method Authquake and reported it to Microsoft in late June. A temporary fix was deployed a few days later, followed by a permanent fix in October. So, we always hear stories about, the strengths of MFA are being bypassed through theft, but I'm curious with Authquake, it seems to be a case of a weakness in the authentication method itself. When you see stories like this, Jimmy, does it make you worried that we've pinned a lot of hopes on MFA, right, to solve a lot of problems? Is there like MFA weakness fatigue setting in? Maybe.
I don't think so. To
Okay.
me, at least in this case, like obviously, there's other cases, but in this case, if it took you an hour of an attacking multiple times, then that's not an MFA problem. That's an alerting problem. That's a logging
Ah,
problem. Because if you can sit at a console and attack 1,000 times, getting errors that many times, and then get a success and nobody sees it after an hour, that's a security design problem and not an NFA problem.
well, and as CCL in our chat likes to point out, not all MFA is made the same. I mean, we saw that, when we saw the first raft of this with, I know SSO is not MFA, but when we saw text-based, push notifications versus authenticator apps versus, dedicated hardware and that kind of stuff, certainly there are levels of MFA, right?
Yeah, there's definitely levels of MFA. And the other thing that they're saying, if you read between the lines, it says the user doesn't get notified. But everybody knows if you're in the cloud with Microsoft anyway, there's logs that are going on to Microsoft. So either the Microsoft security team should be getting notified. And if they're not, then that's a bigger issue.
Yeah.
Because somebody's trying something over 1,000 times or whatever over an hour and nobody's letting you know about it, or there's need to be better logging within the Microsoft ecosystem, because MFAs aren't the silver bullet to good security.
That may be the takeaway of the show. We might have to save that. It may not be the silver bullet, but I just wanted to get out from this kind of our MFA section of the day with this, that Snowflake has announced that starting in November, we've covered a lot about the issues they've had this year, security-wise, that starting in November of next year, 2025, Snowflake will block sign-ins using single-factor passwords. They've already made all new accounts MFA by default, and this is all part of their compliance with CISO Secure by Design pledge. So, some good news. I know Snowflake, that had a lot of far-reaching consequences.
I hate that.
You hate that? Okay.
I hate it.
Give it to me quick, Jimmy.
I hate people making me do two-factor. For what if I just want to log on and browse the web or do something simple? All of a sudden now I got to go through these hoops just because you got bad security to make me do two-factor?
Okay, so to you, this is a user friction problem that's going to. Do you think that has knock-on effects then for better security etiquette down the road?
Yeah, because if people think that you're doing better security because now you have to do two forms of authentication, That has nothing to do with their infrastructure at Snowflake. It's just how you actually log into Snowflake.
Okay, this might be my new favorite take of all. I love the security kind of theater of this all. Kind of calling that out. That's awesome.
No, because you can do MFA transparently.
Mm-hmm.
There is no reason to do MFA what it causes me to actually have to do something else.
Snowflake. Let's take this to heart. Now, I will say this is part of a wider rollout. This is not something that's going to be changing kind of overnight. So I think, to me at least, they are doing at least this
Yes, but
handover
they're making it to
transparently.
every customer, regardless of threat level or risk level. Like, if you told me that if you're doing over this many transactions, or if it's you're a high risk entity, then you do an MFA, that's the risk applied. But when you just blanket everybody with security draconian because you feel like it, that's what I hate.
Okay. Well, we will. I'm curious if we'll see a similar reaction as this continues to roll out through November next year. Jimmy, thank you so much for that take. I got to get you for one more story though before we get out of here. Yahoo cybersecurity team sees layoffs outsourcing under new CTO. Yahoo's famous cybersecurity team, known as the Paranoids, has lost 25% of its staff over the last year, according to TechCrunch. The Paranoids offensive security team, which conducts cyber attack simulations to identify weaknesses in the company's network before external hackers can, pretty much red teaming, was completely eliminated this week and will now be outsourced. Valerie Lebrowski, Yahoo's new chief CTO, announced these changes in an email to staff, stating, "This was a very difficult decision and one I have not taken lightly." So, Jimmy, despite lots of buzzwordy verbiage around strategic adjustments, the overarching sense is that this is more about cutting costs to enhance profitability, which is actually what Yahoo chief executive Jim Lanzone told Axios last year when they were laying off 1,600 employees. What does your spidey sense say about removing security staff, especially their famous red team, in favor of external contractors?
At first, I thought it was an April Fool joke because you let go of your red team, and you say you're going to outsource it. So you're going to outsource the people who show you the attacks of your infrastructure before the outside world. And so now you're going to go outside of your company to find people to attack you. Like,
Did no one? Well, I'll give full credit to our producer Steve Prentice here for kind of pointing this out. Of literally the theme that we have had all year long, right, has been third party risk is this thing that is so like not impossible, but it's such a huge threat surface, right? And to invite, it seems just like inviting trouble. Like, this seems so ill timed with kind of the way the winds are going right now.
no, and unfortunately, generally the thing that you usually see that happens either before or after this is never good for the company.
Yeah, and Yahoo, not exactly, I guess, already the most stellar record, right? When we come to not to cast aspersions or anything like that, they've had their security incidents in the past. But wow, okay. Before I get to my point, CCL, you can't outsource accountability. That's pretty great, CCL. I think that kind of Jimmy gets to your point, certainly.
That's a hot take. I love that.
All right. Well, our thoughts go out to we've had some colleagues on this show and on some of our other shows from Yahoo's team. So thoughts out to them. Hope they all, great talent that's out there finds a good landing, good space for them going forward. And thanks also to everybody to contribute in our chat. I saw Max Tronic popping in, having some fun there with what MFA could stand for. Appreciate that, Max Tronic, CCL, of course, Kevin Farrell. All of our regulars are in there, so thank you so much for that. Before you get out of here, Jimmy, was there any story that was a thumbs up or just made the eyes roll to the back of your head this week?
I guess the eyes roll was the laying off of the Yahoo team. They have an amazing security team there that they laid off, the Paranoids and a lot of them. And so that's a very unfortunate thing, especially during the holidays. Like, what timing is that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, no good timing, but there's certainly bad timing for that. And that is, yeah. Not great. Jimmy, where can people find you online if they want to keep following you on the cyberspace?
You can check me out LinkedIn, or you can always go to ISSA.org. We publish things there. My LinkedIn is there.
All right, excellent. And you guys have an event coming up, right?
Yes, we have our 40th anniversary celebration. It will be April 2025. We'll be celebrating 40 years, and we look forward to inviting everybody there.
Well, let me offer you an early congratulations, and I'm sure you'll have some more details as we get closer to that. If people want to participate, that is awesome. And also awesome is you, Jimmy Sanders, president of ISSA International. Thank you so much for being on the show. This was phenomenal.
No, this was fun, and thanks for having me on.
I promise we're not going to wait 3.5 years to have you back on again. That is my solemn pledge to you and our audience, because this was a ton of fun. Thanks also to our sponsor for today, ThreatLocker, Zero Trust Endpoint Protection Platform. Thanks again to our audience. I know we can't always get every single comment up on the screen, but we are reading them during the course of the show. They do make the show better, and sometimes we just get pearls of wisdom, like CCL shared. So thank you so much for that, and make sure you are coming each and every Friday. We definitely adore you. You won't, I mean, you could come next Friday. We're not going to have a Super Cyber Friday next week, but we will be back with another episode of the Week in Review starting at 3:30 the week after that. That's how time works. To register I'm talking about Super Cyber Friday. I'm getting confused here. There will be a Week in Review next week. There's no Super Cyber Friday next week. You can find all our information for our events at CISOSeries.com. Look for our events page. I get confused at the end of the year. I'm a simple man. In the meantime, you could, of course, get your daily news fix every single day through cybersecurity headlines. Give us about 6 minutes. We'll get you all caught up. That one is easy to remember. Until the next time we meet, I'm Rich Stroffolino, reminding you and yours to have a super sparkly day.
Thank you, Rich.
Cybersecurity headlines are available every weekday. Head to CISOSeries.com for the full stories behind the headlines.